David was a very passionate person. He was an artist, he was a writer, he helped design the temple.
He was a poet. He was a songwriter that we still sing his songs.
The story of David is big. It's a story from David in his youth to the whole way through his death.
Whenever we work on these stories on our stage, it has to be visual, and it's got to be compelling, and it's got to have some wow factor to it.
Our shows are huge, and so trying to keep things on schedule and trying to cast vision and get people on board and working through things is always a challenge. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made and a lot of creative choices that need to be made.
So the show design, from design to finishing the show, is about 3.5 years. It starts with a very succinct concepting phase, then into design phase, and then into the build phase.
Concept, design, build. They're the three separate parts.
Early on in the process of David, we started having this feeling like, hey, we're kind of ahead, aren't we?
We just got done putting Queen Esther on stage. We're in the middle of designing David.
And then the pandemic happened, and the whole theater shut down. Suddenly, this very collaborative process that we rely on stopped. Nobody knew what was going to happen, who was going to still be working.
We didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know if we were going to finish the show, if that was the end.
The decision was made, we were going to stay on course, keep designing for David in 22 without bringing everybody back.
And we just kind of had to do whatever we could with the limited team that we had.
It was like, what are we doing? It's like this impossible task to keep this big idea moving with 3 people working on the show.
It was very surreal to be here, knowing that everybody else was home, because they wanted to be here too. And a little bit of the guilt of being here when they weren't was tough.
So all of a sudden I found myself at home. I was like designing, a little wagon.
And when you have the producer and he's standing obviously in his attic in front of a computer and he's like, I got an idea. What if he does this? And he starts acting it out in front of his camera. It was just really fun to be like, we're so far apart, but yeah, we're still all together.
In the shop, it was Troy and I in the shop floor just discovering things that might work.
We were shooting it on our phones, a video of Jay shooting a bow and arrow like right at me.
Slowly we got an artist back, and then we got another artist back, and then one engineer, and slowly over the course of a couple months we had the team back.
The day they all came back was a very, very happy day.
Right now we're a year out from opening, so music is being arranged and orchestrated, costumes are being designed and built. The sets are all designed, but there's still quite a bit to be built yet. A lot of technical elements are being figured out right now. How are we gonna do Goliath?
It's the biggest, most complicated engineered piece we've ever built.
Goliath was probably one of the biggest challenges in the story of David. We want to tell it in sight and sound drama, and we want to make sure that it's told with excellence.
From the first time the lights come up, and then when you see them, that's gonna be awesome.
At the core of our telling of his life is a story about David and his relationship and his walk with his shepherd.
When you think of David, what do you think of? Well, he was a shepherd. He was a warrior. He was a general. He was a poet. He was a songwriter. He was a king. All of these things he was, but most of all, he was a man who was after God's own heart.